Hello, good afternoon. Hashtag our Lobo and CNM family. This is Drea Beta, coyote walking in this world, in real life, a Povo superhero. I am here with our amazing panelists for our launch. So welcome, family. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. We are so excited for you to be here. And do forgive us, we are waiting for one more panelist to join us this afternoon, but we are very excited for you to be here. So hello and welcome to New Mexico Humanities Now presents Celebrating Student Resiliency, sharing the lived experiences of transfer students. Our panelists today are Leroy Saiz, Ph.D. student, Andrea Borunda, Ph.D. student, and Howard Griego, master student. And I will be chairing today, Andrea Beta, coyote walking in this world, real life, a Povo superhero. I'm also proud to be the Native American Studies Humanities Now graduate assistant. So first of all, family, we are going to go ahead and get started with some introductions before we get to the main event. So I would like to just personally thank our amazing team. Annette Gonzalez has been so inspirational and she is a huge help. She is the program coordinator for the Mellon Foundation Community College University Partnership Initiative. And of course, our fearless leader, Danielle Isabel Barron, who is the transfer education specialist at the University of New Mexico. And Danielle, I believe you have a few words for us.
Just a couple. So for those of you that don't know about New Mexico Humanities Now, we are in year 3 in the final semester of a grant that we received from the Mellon Foundation, building a transfer pathway for humanities students from CNM to UNM. So that's what we've been involved with the last couple of years. Part of this project today is part of that work. And for those of you that are students or are working with students at CNM who may be interested in transferring, we do offer a couple of things that are happening through the course of the spring semester, and then Summer Academy is one of our capstone features, and we will be offering that Summer Academy this coming summer, which is an opportunity for students to gain 6 credits of UNM courses that apply to either their AA and or their BA at UNM. So if you want more information about that, please let me know and we'd be happy to share that with you. Part of the other thing that we do with the New Mexico Humanities Now program is that we have a very awesome GA team that works with students both in the departments, working on research and internship possibilities, working in Summer Academy, doing some mentoring and that kind of thing. So there's many different facets to the work that we've been doing, and part of what we're also doing this semester, mainly GAs with their department faculty, is starting to or continuing on the development of some infrastructure within the departments to continue the good work of supporting and encouraging transfer students. So welcome to all of you, and we look forward to hearing more about the stories of some of our transfer students.
Thank you so much, Danielle. Now we're going to go ahead and get started with our main event, family. 2 of our wonderful transfer student hero stories are here to share their experiences with us. Why don't we go ahead and allow them to introduce themselves? Leroy, it is your day today with your video launch. Why don't you go ahead and get us started?
My name is Leroy Saiz. I'm originally from the South Valley, Trisco in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I've been living, I came back to Albuquerque, but I was living in Denver for probably over 30 years. So I was in Denver for quite a while. And then I came back to Albuquerque to work on my Ph.D. at UNM through language literacy and sociocultural studies in the School of Education, where my focus is on educational thought and sociocultural studies, as well as indigenous education. I'm happy to be here and thanks for having me. And there's some faces that I remember from way back when and even to relatively recent. So it's good to see everybody.
Thank you so much. Andrea?
Hi, Andrea Borunda. I'm a PhD candidate in the Department of English, and it's my last semester, which is scary but exciting. I'm a community college transfer student from El Paso. I got my BA there also, and I've been in Albuquerque about 5 years and really love it, Albuquerque and its people, and especially the Mellon faculty and administrators in cohort have been really good to me. So I'm happy to see them again and honored to be on this panel. Thank you.
Thank you so much to you both. I believe we are still waiting for our third guest, Howard, but let's go ahead and get started today, family. So our very first question for our amazing panelists. Each one of your life journeys is unique and inspirational. Can you share a little more about your background and your experiences with traveling, but also your research? Basically, what would you like our New Mexico Humanities family to learn from your experiences?
I'll go ahead and go first. So I think paramount to the grad school experience, particularly with students of color, is finding your people. I think that's been instrumental in me succeeding and being able to sustain, right, community and camaraderie and solidarity, right, in a system that isn't particularly made for us. I feel like we've made some strides, but it still can be, right, it can be difficult at times. So I think what's really gotten me through is finding, actually, right, going out, finding folks that are, not necessarily, in the Department of English, right? But cross-pollinating across other departments and just meeting people whose experiences mirror my own, and that's really helped me to succeed. And yeah, and organizations like Mellon, right? These things don't just happen organically, right? You have to seek out these folks. And another thing is asking for help, which in my culture is prohibited, right? So it's very hard to sort of train yourself to say, I need help. Can you help me? Right. That's been invaluable, right? Without asking for help, I'm not sure where I'd be. So those things have really helped.
I would say for me, with my background, being from the South Valley, but then also growing up in North Denver and the Denver metro area as well, I definitely had a real good understanding of indigenous identity as well as Chicano identity. And so Chicano community and indigenous community have always influenced my life and everything I do. My community is why I do what I do. And that has always played into why I'm going to school, what type of work I'm going to take in my path, and has always influenced why I'm getting educated. And so as I go through my whole process of education, starting from it was CCD for me, starting at the community college level all the way up to where I am today, I've always thought about in what way can the skills and the experiences that I've gained from school and from getting an education be helpful for the larger community that I'm from, right? And all the people that are a part of my life, all my relations in that way. And so it's always been about trying to utilize education as something that can be a resource for my family in that instance. So
Thank you both very much. We appreciate your comments and your wisdom. And our third panelist has joined us today, family. Howard Griego. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, everybody. Sorry, I was having technical issues trying to get on. It wouldn't let me on for some reason. So anyways, I'm here now, so we'll just move forward from there. So my name is Howard Griego. I'm a New Mexico native. I was born in Santa Rosa, New Mexico. So I'm a native son of New Mexico, and I'm at the end of the Manitos Trail, right to the end of the northern the northern part of New Mexico. As you can tell, I'm not a traditional student. I started school a little late in my life. I came back to school at 51, and I had been through some trials and tribulations to get here, but I'm here now, right? So I started at CNM, and I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, right? So I just went as liberal arts. I said, it's got to be better than having somebody yell at me for $10 an hour for the rest of my life, because I am a blue collar worker and had been injured in the oil fields, and so I was no longer welcome in that line of work because of my disability, and so I had to do something different. And so I started at CNM, and I realized how much I should have probably gone to school when I was in school. I was just trying to get out, but I don't know if am I going too long here, or is that what you guys were asking? No? Okay. Just want to make sure. Okay, so when I got started at CNM, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I did okay in math, kind of, but English was super difficult for me. That was the hardest subject out of any subject that I had, and it still is very challenging for me today, right? Even as a master's student. Um, I just recently lost all my research, the last 3 years of research. So I'm having to start all over again. But I know through this Chicano Studies program that I have people that will help me, and I can do this. So that being said, I took some classes, and one of my intermediate English teachers said, "You should. Reading the story that you just read, you should go try Chicano Studies." And I was like, "They have that kind of class?" And he was like, "Yeah, they have that class there. You should go try it, and then you should maybe take her as your instructor for your writing courses after that." So I took his advice, and I went to the Chicano Studies class that summer. That was my first summer at CNM, and I fell in love with the class, and I fell in love with the topics, and I fell in love with the history, and I fell in love with everything that I was hearing, because I was hearing a portion of my life that I had never heard before. And not that there's wrong with anybody else's history. What I have learned is everybody's history is important as long as it's all collective, right? As long as it's all added together, because there's pieces missing, right, from each side. And so anyway, so I did that, and when I finished that class, I was like, I wish there was more classes that I could do this. And when I go to UNM, I wish there was something close by. And they said, as a matter of fact, there is. You can get a bachelor's. At the time, it was a bachelor's degree in Chicano Studies. There was not a master's or a PhD at that time. So, of course, being a non-traditional student, and the decades of negative self-talk that I have told myself throughout my life made it a huge deterring factor. I thought it would be, right? Because my thoughts are always lying to me. It seems like you don't belong here, and yet my grades and my actions are still saying yes, you do. And so so I took one other class that they have at CNM. It was it was ethnic studies or something like that. Was the only one that was closer to that, and I took it with the Felicia Catton Garcia, who was my instructor through English, my writing classes, the Chicano Studies class, and that class, right? And uh, so I was always concerned about my ability to perform in a higher academic studies, right? I did think, well, I got the associates, but that was just barely. And and Dr. Garcia assured me that no, you're gonna make it over there. If you just get over there, you'll make it. I'm telling you. And so I believed in that, right? And in spring of 2018, I enrolled for my first semester at UNM and through the Chicano Studies Department. And they were on a mission to get the master's program and the PhD program. So my hope is that eventually I can go back to CNM and get my associates in Chicano Studies. And then I've got my bachelor's in Chicano Studies. And this, well, because after losing all my information, I'm hoping to graduate this summer and get my master's in Chicano Studies. And I've applied to the PhD program in Chicano Studies. So I'll be the first one to go through, get all the degrees in succession, right? So, you know, and I'm hoping that we can go have talks with the students at CNM or at the high school level or whatever we need to do to show them that dreams do come true. And if you work hard enough and you continue to believe in yourself, no matter what, you can do it too. If I can do it, anybody can do it, right? Because I didn't have all the tools, and I still don't have all the tools, and I'm always concerned with how am I going to do that, or how am I going to do that? But I just keep putting one foot in front of the other, one day at a time, and I put a lot of faith in my department and the people in my department, and people from CNM that still believe in me, right? And so those things are important to me. And today, you know, I lost all that information, but I've been steadily working on trying to do what they're asking me to do all over again, and it's difficult, and it feels like I'm never going to complete it in time. But that's what I've told myself the whole time I've been in academia. I'm not worthy of this, and that imposter syndrome kicks in only about 70 or 80 times a day sometimes, right? Just depending on what I'm doing. But with y'all's help and the help of my faculty and me being resourceful, going to different places, I still go to CNM and use their ACE tutoring program, their English, to help me get through stuff. And so, you know, today, yes, I have a bit of an issue, but I know if I reach out to anybody, that they will help me. And that's what keeps me going. And I'm hoping that I can deliver some kind of message to those that are coming behind me, that they do have that ability to be here as well.
Thank you so much, Howard. That is definitely an inspirational story, as Annette mentioned in the comments. Thank you so much for sharing that. We're going to go ahead and go to our second question, family. And I think this might have touched on what some of what Howard was talking about, right? Our own positionality and our backgrounds. So how do you believe your own positionality, your background, your access to resources, systems of support, and other factors have influenced your experience? Which ones would you really like to highlight and share with our audience? Let's go ahead and go in the same order. So if Leroy will start us off, and then Andrea, and then we'll end with Howard.
All right. For me, I think that at least my positionality, I come as a cisgender male, Chicano as well as Native, Nahuamasewalme, right? And with that being said, third generation within the US on my father's side. And so there's all kinds of different things playing out coming from the South Valley, but also living in North Denver, but then going to school in Arvada, Colorado, which is a suburb of Denver. There's all kinds of different experiences that I had with the world and how they see me, positioning myself with that, and then also my experiences with education. And one of the most important pieces I think that I gained out of education was that there's more to education than just simply the books and the grades and all these other elements that come with it. That's like the kind of the like an important element, right? That has a massive component to it, right? But even more important, that were the relationships that I developed, and the friendships and the family created, and then also the nurturing of my relationship to my community. As I mentioned before, that's probably been the most important aspect guiding me through this whole journey of education is community. When I first started off at a community college level onto my undergrad, I was involved with Mecha in Colorado, and it was within the movimiento in Colorado, all the veteranos that were from the Crusade for Justice, and in Escuela de Tlatelolco, all those folks that were from that community played a massive role in helping me navigate the education system. And at that same time, it was within the Native community, Denver's urban Native community, that also gave me a lot of love and support, and was there for me when I needed it, in the guidance and in knowing how to hold myself in a proper manner, in a way that was supportive of both myself, but then also the community, right? That relationality piece really was really instilled with me. And even when I was in high school, if it wasn't for the Native Education program in Jefferson County and my aunties, and that helped me get through, I don't even know, right? And so to me, what an education is synonymous with is relationships, and being able to maintain strong connection to those relationships, so that, you know, if I eat, everybody eats, and so to speak, in that way. And so that has also helped me navigate systems. You know, I've also come to see the vast amount of knowledge that our elders have, and that the women in our community, my aunties, have, right? It really has been the aunties in the community that have helped me get where I need to be in that way. But then it's also been my uncles too, who have helped me grow in that way. So as I was going to school, I also started a family. Me and my partner had a family, and it was my uncles and my aunties, my grandmas and my grandpas, right? My cousins, everybody showing me the love I needed and the support to help me navigate these things, right? And so here again, you know, there's a lot of things I can tell you about the field of study that I'm in, and that's cool. And I would always be down to talk about that. But to me, what education really is about the development of relationships in my community in that way. And it's not that maybe that couldn't happen outside of a school setting, but I think it was the school setting which also gave me the space to do that in that instance. So.
So you asked Dre about positionality, which is interesting in particularly in my line of work and research. So I'm a Chicana Puebloan, and right, a woman of color, and I study Shakespeare, Shakespeare and race, right? So it's interesting on a lot of fronts, right? Because I've received this, right, sometimes pushback, like, you don't look like an English professor, or you don't look like you would study Shakespeare. And that's really interesting, right? And but it fuels me, right? And it makes it all the more important for me to be visible, right? For me to command a classroom, whether it be at CNM, which I teach at, or at UNM, right? And to show, right, my students of color that you can command a classroom, that you can teach English, right? Literature, right? From Britain, and you can put your spin on it. Like, so my dissertation is about mestizaje and Shakespeare. And so, right, all the erasure, right, colonization and imperialism of the 16th century, right, and these misconceptions that people of color didn't make contributions or didn't exist, or right, or if they're occluded from the books, right, it doesn't really matter. Their stories are not important, and just digging, right, and finding what it means to discover these hidden figures, right, and to unearth their stories. That's what's really important to me. And so that's what I've dedicated my, gosh, the last, I would say, decade, is I found Shakespeare pretty late. I didn't read him till my master's, right? I couldn't. It's still a sludge, right? But I find that it's important because it's like the capital, right? The sort of like white supremacy, right? Right, these sort of issues that are bubbling up, right, have to do with cultural cachet, and what is a canon, right? That's how it translates in academia, right? And so I think it's just really important that we study these, right, these white men, and if they're meant to be toppled over, then let's let that happen. Yeah, and so that's my positionality and my research and what's important to me, and it's just really refreshing to be in a group like this, which has really fostered me from the beginning, right? I've had the privilege to work with Annette, who's tireless and just lovely, and Danielle, who's has such a great spirit, like these fairy godmothers, right, who have just seen me through, right? When Howard talks about feeling like you don't belong, right? Like your inner saboteur, or your right, your imposter syndrome, right? Gosh, like when your knees buckle right before a panel, right, and you're the only one that looks right the way that you do, and you're supposed to speak with authority about something. He's right on about that. So yeah, having these mentors is essential, right? And I have the best mentor in my department, in the Department of English, who has my back, which is so important, right? To find your committee and your mentors that will be there for you, right? That you can email in a panic and say, I can't do this. Like, I can't go on anymore. This is impossible. And they will say, you know what, it is possible, right? And then you think, you know what, right, like Howard said, one foot in front of the other, and I can be my ancestors' wildest dreams, right? I can. So that's in my experience thus far.
Okay, so my turn again. That was quick. So me being half white and half Chicano has been a double-edged sword, right? Because for me, I look white, but I was raised in a town full of Chicanos in Santa Rosa, and then when I went to Fort Sumner to live with my aunt, so that she could help my mom take care of me, we weren't allowed to speak our language. We were not allowed, and we were reprimanded. And when one of us would get reprimanded for it, they would bring the whole class to the front, and they would make fun of all of us for speaking Spanish at all, right? And so I was very confused at what I was supposed to do, and I was living in this contradiction that my aunt was telling me, no, you got to go to school and you got to learn and it's like, yeah, but when I get there, it's like they're telling me that not to speak this language, and what am I supposed to do? So anyway, when I'd hang out with, like, growing up, I had friends like Cipriano, Celestino, Adolfo, Pablo, and then there's Howard, right? So it was very I was challenged by them too, but when I'd go and open my mouth to white folks or to the white students, they shunned me too. So I was in a limbo that I didn't know where I belonged. So it was an identity crisis for me, and that followed me into my adulthood. And and I'm not ashamed to say this, I turned to drugs and alcohol, and because I couldn't, there was no way for me to remove those feelings that I had, um, like, and do I belong? Do I don't belong? What is it? And so I try to go through life trying to be something or somebody in some sort of way, right? Somebody, and I ended up uh, I ended up getting in a lot of trouble over the drugs and alcohol thing. And so to me, now looking back at it, because now I'm doing my work is also involves mestizaje, and it does mestizaje through murals through by Nuevo Mexicanos, in the that they were left out of the conversation in the El Movimiento Chicano. So I'm bringing that into the conversation now, and hopefully I can give them a voice, because I always felt like I didn't have a voice. And so being able to get through school, one of the things that has helped me, backing up a little bit, has been having workforce experience, right? I worked a lot of blue collar jobs, and I know that the answer to resilience is to keep moving forward, is to keep asking questions. And so I just felt that that was important. And so it helped me to find resources, like go to ACE tutoring, or go to ACE tutoring at Montoya campus, or reach out to my cohorts. And and I always think of this acronym, it's how, right? I was always asking, why is this happening to me? And instead of asking why, I started asking how. So why, one time, a Chicana from that I was renting a room from, she told me, why are you asking why? Why is for children? Ask how. And I didn't understand what that meant. And it was, you have to be honest, open-minded, and willing. No matter what you do, if you practice those three principles in your life, you'll go far, right? And she was right. She was like, just be honest about what, if you're not understanding, raise your hand, ask questions, no matter how stupid they are or how stupid you might think they are. The stupid questions are the ones that are not answered, right? And so I used to have a, a, a an issue articulating the questions that I wanted to ask. So I would be uh, uh, what's the word? I would just be all over the place, right? I'd be meandering all over the place, right? No point where I'm going with my conversation. Now, I knew what I wanted to ask. I just didn't know how to articulate it, and I still struggle with that today, right? But the education system, through my experience so far, has been um, one of loving, kind, helpful, resourceful people that I surround myself with to help me get through this, right? And that's the networking that Andrea just talked about. You get to network with people in the system that I want to see you succeed, right? Because the more people, more women with the name of doctor in front of them, that adds another piece to our foundation to make us stronger as people of color. And every time we get to add that piece, and anytime anybody's willing to help us add to that foundation, it makes us stronger so that we can move forward. And so going through my recovery as I am now, I've learned to use some of that and bring that into my schooling, like the tenacity that I have. I don't stop. I just keep going, and I keep asking questions. And I don't like the way I feel, and I don't like things that are said, because it's the truth, right? And not that it's meant to hurt my feelings, but the truth needs to be heard in order for me to grow. And if I'm not feeling uncomfortable, that to me, that means I'm not growing. So I feel uncomfortable quite a bit in my master's program, right? And I felt uncomfortable going through the whole thing. But through my recovery and through my education, I've learned that you're gonna be uncomfortable, and you're just gotta push through it. Put your head down and push through.
Thank you so much. Let's talk a little bit more about our fields of study in humanities, and not only life during school, but also after school. So, how has humanities in general and more specifically, your individual fields of study, help to play a role in your successes, professionally, personally, holistically, in the community, with your family and loved ones? Go ahead and please share your wisdom.
That's a great question, Dre. So I can start with familially. To me, that's what it comes down to, and it's just right. As I mentioned before, so I'm an English major, and right, how did that come about? Right, why out of all the amazing humanities majors that there are, right, which I had a lot of trouble choosing, right? Because I went to El Paso Community College, which was wonderful until they just about kicked me out because I took pottery and guitar and sign language, and I was just, terrified of transferring to a big university. But I finally did choose English, and I think it had a lot to do with the love of stories and storytelling, right? And that goes back to like my grandma and thunderstorms and the lights going out and her covering the mirrors and her telling me the spookiest thing she could think of, and me, you're right, me shaking with terror and it being like the most exhilarating experience ever. And right, my mom, right, we didn't have a lot of money, but her taking me to Barnes and Noble and ordering me right, spooky books and embarrassing ones like the Babysitter's Club, and me like devouring those, and right, just having this having the love of sharing these stories, and just listening to my mom and my grandma just talk about things, right? Because I didn't grow up with a father. So that was really, I think, pivotal in me finding this love, right? Or knowing that I had this love of literature, and then finally zeroing in and being like, this fits, right? I feel like I am where I'm supposed to be, right? This feeling like, even though it is uncomfortable, right? Like Howard gestured to, like having that epiphany, like, oh my gosh, like this is it, this is the right place, like this is exciting, and these are my people, and right, and I get to listen, and even though, right, my grandma's been gone for a long time, right, I just feel like particularly within our culture, right, they never leave us, right, they're always here, our ancestors, right, and we walk the paths that they've, right, paved before us. So choosing English occurred that way, and yeah, that's what's really helped me through the path of academia, which is not linear, right? It's things happen, right? Like there are places where particularly with students of color, I've found that it's not like, this whole 4-year, right? You're at an institution, let's say 2 years, and then you go straight to, you go from community college to, right, to the 4-year institution, to master's, to doctorate. No way. Like it's been, really, it hasn't been straightforward. It's been, where I took time off because I had to, because my mom got sick, right? I cut hair. I went to beauty school, right? I did all this, but I think that adds to a richness, right? We come, I think, with these life experiences, right? Working, right, back when it was, we were getting $5.25 an hour, like that's quite, a long time ago. But being, I think, richer for it, right? So that's been my experience, and that's really been what's brought me to academia. And just one more thing I'd like to talk about is that's why I love teaching at community college, is because unlike the 4-year institution, right, it's so rich, like with students of like all ages, right? I have high school students in my English classes, right? Like up to, right, like probably my eldest student was like 85, and just having a classroom and having like these interactions and stories, and they've been so inspiring, and so that's really what's led me to fall in love with the better parts of academia.
Thank you so much. Just to repeat the question reminds our lovely family, how has humanities in general, and more specifically your fields of study, helped to play a role in your successes professionally, personally, holistically, within your family and communities?
I would say, is it okay, Howard, if I go, or do you want to go? Or okay, sweet. So I think for me, kind of going off some of the things that Andrea said, especially in relationship to CNM, you know, I was when I was in Denver, before I came to get my Ph.D. at UNM, I was an administrator for Jeffco Public Schools. I was the coordinator and managing the Title VI Native Education program. And I love doing that with all my heart, because it was the same program that I grew up in. And a lot of the students in that program, I seen when they were little babies, so I see them go all the way up to become seniors, and their parents or their grandparents saw me when I was a little kid, so there was this relationship that we had, and it meant a lot to me in that way. And so coming over here, I tried to find something similar to that. And I really feel that CNM at the community college level was able to maintain that humanity piece that I wanted to maintain, right? That relationality piece, seeing students grow in that way. And that's not to say that it doesn't necessarily happen at UNM, but the thing about CNM is that I was seeing that coming from a three school, from communities that I also grew up and experienced life with in New Mexico, right? And so a lot of the questions that I run into, whether it was teaching Chicano studies, Native American studies, or even American studies courses, were a lot of questions that I was asking at that age or at that point in my educational career. And so, and I had all these cultural nuances and markers and all these things to identify with that we can relate upon, and literally sit back in the class and just kind of look up and reflect on in relationship to what we're talking about. And I don't think I could be able to articulate those things in such a manner if it wasn't for also my previous educational background with ethnic studies, right? With Chicano studies, with Native American studies, and going through that. And then also here again, the community, those two intertwined between humanities and the community experiences that I had play a massive role in me being able to support and help students navigate their experiences today at CNM in the classroom, and even in teaching for UNM. Same thing, it takes it to another level. I noticed in community college, there's an awareness for sure of where everybody's at, and the multiple entry points from which people are coming into the school. And that here again is not to say that doesn't necessarily happen at a larger university, but because there's much more students and it goes all the way up into to graduate level, to doctoral programs, sometimes with all the things going on, those experiences can sometimes get lost, right? And so hence the importance of programs such as this that we're in right now, and having people and mentors and other students with past experiences that the newer students can relate upon. So that's how I've really utilized humanities, is it's become part of my toolbox to basically clear the pathway for next generation of students coming through.
Thanks, Leroy. And to kind of piggyback off of what he's saying, humanities is what my tia that raised me in Fort Sumner, that's what she gave me. She gave me unconditional love but I didn't know what that was, right? Because I was already not home with my mom, and I was a young boy, and I didn't know why I was there, and it felt like felt like I was a throwaway, and all these other things that go through a child's head. I know now that that's not the case, right? And through my recovery, and through humanities, and especially through my department, there is people that have felt just like I do. And there's people who have had their research lost just like I have. And there is people that are willing to help, and willing to help me walk through this, um, uh, no matter how difficult. And that's what's been super helpful for me to do what I'm able to do here. And the good thing is I don't, how do I put this? I don't always know what I'm doing, but today I learned something new today, right? I learned something completely new today. And as long as I'm willing to learn, and I have a desire to learn, there's always going to be new things coming. And I know there's people that have been teachers for a while now, that they still run into things like, well, I've never done that before, but I know somebody that has, or I know if I just keep pushing forward, the answers are going to come, right? And so to me, humanities is a collective community, and it's about being human, no matter what color your skin is, no matter where you come from, no matter how smart you are, how smart, if you're smart at all, or if you can count, or if you can't count, or even if you can't read, right? It's about studying humanities and being human. And so you know, Chicano studies has their social justice, and they have all that, but in the overall scheme of things, they teach me how to be a better human overall, right? And a lot of things that I was very ignorant to growing up, because I try to outrun my culture, right? I moved to the East Coast, so I can say, oh yeah, but I can hide over there, and with a name like Howard, and nobody will really know who I am, right? Because I was running from who I truly was. And the minute I said I was from New Mexico, all they heard was Mexico. And they started treating me differently. And they started wanting to pay me differently. And they started acting differently. And so I said, I can't outrun who I am. And of course, that kind of came with the other stuff. And then when I got in Denver, I was working in the oil fields in Montana, Wyoming, and in Colorado, and I got injured out there, and they said, "Yeah, it's just easier for us to let the government take care of you and to retrain you and give you another job." So I was devastated. I was like, "What am I going to do? I have no way to live." I did, and anyways, so the person that I'm becoming is the person I've always been, and the person I've always wanted to be. I just didn't know how to express that, right? And and so now, rather than speaking 100 miles an hour and having no direction as to my questions and all that other stuff, which I still do, right? I take that minute to breathe first and think about what I'm going to say, and think of other people's feelings around me, so that I'm not hurting anyone, because I don't want to be hurt anymore either. And so that's what humanities and my Chicano studies department.
Thank you so much. This has been an amazing experience, family. And before we hear final comments from all of our panelists, we are going to go to our main event. So join us. This has been a celebration of transfer student resiliency stories. And you are here today, family, for the official launch of the I Am Leroy, a story of transfer student resiliency video. It is a short film directed and filmed by Manuel Huerta, producer and director of Persona Anime Productions, LLC. It centers on Leroy Saiz, currently a Ph.D. student in the Language, Literacy, and Social Cultural Studies department. Leroy transferred, Leroy transferred from Central New Mexico Community College, the University of New Mexico. And I'm going to double check that, family. And I'll let him talk a little bit more after we have viewed his video. One moment, family. Technical difficulties. Please don't forget to also visit our website. We're going to go over that information, and we are also happy to be adding content to our YouTube channel, family. And without further ado, here is our video.
This is connected to me. How this place is connected to me. I was born here and I spent my summers here with my cousins, and it brings back a lot of memories. This is all new to them, so I like coming here with them to show them. I guess community college, the way it started out for me was that I was working just, jobs that were going nowhere. I decided that I wanted to go to school and strive for something better. And I remember telling my supervisor that I was gonna go to school, and so I needed to change my hours a little bit. And he just laughed at me. And he was like, basically, you're gonna go to school? Yeah, right. That really kind of pushed me to really actually make it happen. So I remember I went and looked up the process for enrolling in school. I ended up breaking my hand really bad. I didn't have insurance or anything. And so I remember with my hand broken, looking in the mirror, I put myself here. So now I have to figure out a way to change the things around me. They were willing to accept me. It's just, I didn't have the test scores. I never took the SAT or ACT. They had me go to the community college and take a test there, like a placement test. For most of us, Chicana, Chicano, Chicanx, indigenous students, our pathway through education has always been challenged from the very idea of our race, class, and gender, right? At the very least, those three intersectionalities. Because of it, we haven't had the same opportunities as other students might have had. We have a lot of relationships and responsibilities outside of just Western perspectives of what success in career needs to be, right? And because of those things, our pathways towards education sometimes look different. I think community college, what it does for a lot of us is it allows for us to be able to access the same opportunity to education, and it allows us to transition our community. It allows for us to transition our family and our relationships to all living and non-living things. You have students coming from Central New Mexico Community College we're trying to create pathways for them in the humanities. Particularly, I work with Native American studies. We're looking at all the barriers that our students will have to confront, and we're helping to eliminate those barriers and also create the pathways they need to get the things they need in there. So it's a smooth transition from going from community college to UNM. When I first started, and what caught my attention was that this was a great opportunity to build relationships with the community and with students, and showing how we're all connected. So it's more than just school. The Native American Studies program at the University of New Mexico does heavily invest within their students that are transferring from CNM to UNM. And so there's a lot of mentoring that takes place. There's a lot of community building that takes place. You have a program that invests in you as the whole student. They're looking out for your academic career, but also your social emotional growth. I want students to know that, like, even after they graduate, we're still their family. When times get hard, they can lean on us for support. You know, that if these are students who maybe their families are in rural areas of New Mexico or they're out of state, that those families know that, you know what, that's okay, because they have that program over there at UNM that I know is a really good program that supports them, not just with their schoolwork and not just selling them this idea of an academic career, but they're investing in our kids And I see those things developing within transfer pathways.
Thank you so much, family. Before we get our last comments from our panelists, please do not forget to visit our website here, CNM/UNM New Mexico Humanities Now Transfer Program. It is filled with wonderful and exciting information about how we can be a resource for your community. And also visit our YouTube channel. In addition to our brother Leroy's amazing video, we also have 2 additional videos who are centering and focusing on our other panelists, the I Am Howard video and the I Am Andrea video. In addition to those great resources, family, we also have introductory videos to all of our New Mexico Humanities graduate assistants, which is still a work in progress. We also have our New Mexico Humanities Now weekly updates, as well as offering tutoring services every Tuesday for the Native American Studies Intertribal Study Group. So family, we have lots of resources for you. We are so excited and happy that you are part of our family. At this moment, we're going to go ahead and let our panelists have the last words before we let you have the rest of your wonderful weekend. Who would like to say their final words before we sign off?
I just want to say that's a fabulous video, Leroy. As always, right? You're an exceptional person and scholar, so I appreciate it. And yeah, you made a lot of really wonderful points in terms of community, right? To wrap it up, our mentors, our relationships with living, non-living, right? Material, immaterial worlds, and our positionalities, right? Which Dre gestured to before. So I just want to thank right, my mentors in this group and my cohort, right, for providing this really wonderful experience and collective that's been so valuable to me for years now. So thank you all for your support, because without it, things would be pretty tough, right? Like Howard talked about being human, right, and finding the best in the humanities. Yeah, you all make it. I feel like it's a path, right? Particularly with students of color, it's full of brambles, right? Sharp things, right? And you all clear it for us, right? Especially Dr. Vasquez, right? I admire her so much as a person who went through this, right? Before us, and many of my mentors, right, who helped clear that path. I can't imagine, right, what that was like, but it's powerful. So thank you.
I think, let's see, yeah, so I just want to thank everybody that, I've had my experience at UNM and at CNM. Felicia, I see she's there, and Tiffany was on, Dr. Lee was on, as well as Irene Vasquez. I will say this about Dr. Vasquez is that, folks in Denver, whenever I tell them I'm here at UNM, and they always say in the Chicano community in Denver, they're like, oh, well, there's that Ph.D. program at UNM. And I'm like, yeah, it's doing its thing for sure. And then it's being run by Dr. Vasquez, by Irene Vasquez, I believe, right? And I'm like, yeah. And so up and down I-25, right? The I-25 corridor loves you very much. You do some big things. And so your name has a lot of good to it in that way. So I appreciate you, and thank you for the opportunities you've provided me in that instance. And Howard, I always show love to Howard because he has some Denver connections. When we've taken classes in Levi Romero's class, we've always talked about that. And so that being said, because there's some Denver folks here, I just want y'all to know in that video, just because I was wearing LA Rams gear doesn't mean that I was repping. I still always rep Denver. That's all I had at that time, right? So, and I even was talking to Manuel. I was like, dang, man, of all the gear I was wearing. But yeah, so no, Howard straight up is a veterano for sure. So and I look at him that way. I always appreciate him. Annette, that's one of my aunties that I was just talking about, and then one of my cousins right here, Andrea, that's my relative for sure. No Ikni. So if it wasn't for y'all at UNM and CNM and everybody, even from Simon to Tanya, to everybody, I could keep going on. It's just y'all have made my comeback to New Mexico actually really good. It feels really good, and it feels like I'm home. So thank you.
Thank you, Leroy. And so as I was being nosy and I was looking through who else was in the attending today, and I saw 3 of my mentors from CNM here, and Stephen Romero was one, Dr. Garcia was another, and Dr. Juarez was another one. And those 3 believed in me and helped me get here, right? And I've been blessed by my Creator to give me such kind, helpful, and intelligent people around me, right? And Dr. Vasquez is my advisor. So and she's my thesis chair. So I have the same blessings in UNM that I had there. All I have to do is just continue to show up and be a part of, right? And even there's sometimes that I'm not sure I'm going to make it, like I was saying it before, but if I just trust in the process, things will be okay. But it's so hard for people coming from CNN to believe that, right? Because they don't have belief in themselves, and it's important that us as senior cohorts or students, that we believe in them until they learn how to believe in themselves, right? And I think we can do that, and I think we can get more people on board. And I'm blessed with the advisors that I have, and my cohorts are super smart, right? And having that old Chicano mentality of, oh, they're young, what are they going to teach me? You know what? That doesn't work anymore. And if we want to grow and we want to move forward, all that machismo and all that other crap that comes with that has to be silenced. And there has to be a cycle that's broken in order for us to be more human-like and more loving and kind as human beings. So thank you. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone for staying around. I do apologize. We did not have a chance for question and answer. Does anyone have any burning questions for our panelists before we go ahead and say goodbye? Then we are done, family. Thank you so much for helping us support our family, the successful launch of the I Am Leroy video. Woo! Please check out our website, our YouTube channel. Follow us on social media, family. We are on Twitter, on Facebook, and also on Instagram. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you next time.